Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Be Your Own Hero Show. I'm your host. I'm Sacred Rice. I'm a professional writer. I got my new book out. My new book. Let me just give you a quick side view. Hack your pain now. Hack your pain now. Buy that. Buy that. Hack your pain now. I want to talk about this a little bit because I actually presented this book at the Fisk graduation this year, and I was talking about it, and I was talking about. Let me try to make this short. So I wrote this book before my stroke. Before my stroke, I know it came out after my stroke, but I wrote it before my stroke, right? And so what I was saying in Fisk is I found it amongst my mom's papers, and I published it because I felt like it really helped me. It really helped me, right? Even though I've written it a long time ago, even though it's something I've written beforehand, it made a lot of sense to me then, and I put it out. So that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about that. So that said, oh man, if the sun is coming out, look, the sun is coming out. The sun's getting bright. The sun's getting bright. All right, so I want to introduce you to look at this. This is the first time I've done this. The first time I've done a guest host and put her name on it like this. Janet Walsh. You see her right there? That's the first time I've done that. That's the first time I've done that. Hope she likes it. All right, so I'm gonna get her on, and I just want to give this brief intro. So she spoke also at the Fisk University graduation, and I saw that she was before me. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So she's gonna take care of all of the things that have to do with having a stroke, right? Because I know that she's had a stroke and she's had it more strongly than I have. And I was like, okay, I'll just be kind of sliding behind her. But she got up and she spoke eloquently about everything else except the stroke. And I was like, oh no, I'm about to do it myself. And so I felt, I don't know, a little weird about it, about being the one who's bringing kind of bad news to the kids. But I felt like it was important for me to represent it because my stroke happened at that event, at the Fisk University fundraiser the year before. So I just want to bring up Janet and let her talk about that moment. All right. So let me hit it with a drum roll. Hold on.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Janet?
I'm fantastic. I'm loving all the drum rolls, all the creative pieces. Your cognitive skills are running on 1,000 this morning.
Oh wow, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So tell me about the Fisk graduation, because I was convinced that you would say something about having a stroke because you and I have talked about you having a stroke.
Right. So good morning. Thanks for having me here.
Sure.
And it's really interesting. I think one of the questions you may have asked is like, why don't you talk about it? And so I sort of early on, in my mind, it was always that I understood that people didn't want to hear about it. So like the first few weeks, the first few months, yes, but as you know, part of my professional identity, up until the stroke was that I was a tea maven. And so I went around doing tea parties, manners and etiquette. And so here you have me in this role really as like this picture of optimism, of just like everything like really good. I often told, the students that I had been training, whatever it is, the worst thing that there is that's happened to you, find the good in it. And I have been in this gratitude. So like all of these kinds of things, they kind of coalesced. And so when it was time for me to speak, I opted not to sort of speak about it. And I will be clear to tell you that just because, and I'm sure just because people don't talk about like the impacts of the stroke and what it's happened, do know that there is always a lot of background stuff happening. Like, even as I mounted on the stage, you think about these things in the back of your mind. Is someone going to be there to help me up the stage? I know how to walk upstairs, but when it's in front of like 400 people, you start to think, oh, like all of the post-traumatic stress that happens after a major medical event, especially any event where you have had some sort of deficit, walking, any, movement. When it is time for you to perform, you have to put on your game face. That's one, but you also have to suppress those urges that sometimes say, okay, oh, do you really think you should just go up the stairs by yourself? So those were the things that I was thinking of just before I got on stage.
Yeah, I want to co-sign with you. I want to jump in with you because I have never talked about this. But those feelings about small things are big. Those feelings are big. And I was thinking about how I was going to make it up those stairs. I was going to make it up those stairs. Like the stairs were kind of close and they were kind of curved. I was like, ooh, I got to get the stairs just right. And luckily there were some kids up front and they started applauding me and like, oh, that's him. And thankfully that gave me something to be distracted by. And I was able to get upstairs easily. But that's one of the things I have to think about. How am I going to get upstairs? And it's one of those things that you don't think about ever when you're fully a full person. You don't think ever about those types of things. But yeah, you have to think about a lot of things like that when you got to.
Right. And then you think so. One of the counselors, I think, helped me up the stairs, which is just a normal part of like courtesy and manners. But then you start to be in these instances where it's not just about courtesy and manners, it's just about survival. And so this whole idea about community, and we need community in our best days. We need community in our mediocre days. And we also need community in our days where we have some opportunities to be better. And you sort of see that unfold, and you continue to see it unfold throughout the process. And I think that's a beautiful thing that sometimes you don't see it in the moment, but when you go back and reflect on the day, the moment, I thought it was quite courageous that even you wanted to get up, and you had the courage to get up and speak. And so even a person who has had a stroke, they deal with what they're thinking and feeling, but also then it becomes, okay, Sekou is up on the stage, let's make sure he gets up there. So then it's this compounded sensitivity, because that's what community should be, a compounded sensitivity in making sure that everything and everybody is able to perform, at their top level.
Ashe. So I want to give you the shout out from Fee King right here. She's saying community is absolute essential. She's saying, yeah, that's
Good
right.
Good morning, Fee. Good to see you again.
Yeah, Fee. And I want to also, yep, I have that. So I want to show everyone me at Fisk. I want to remind everyone, because it's been a while in terms of people's times. I want to put us back in the moment, and then we'll see you for just a brief second. Okay. Let's just see.
Hack your pen now. But that book, the reason I can't remember the book is because I sometimes have alopecia. I can't remember things. But that book I wrote before today. I wrote before this year, right? I wrote it before then. So it's like I wrote it in anticipation of the time that was coming for me. Like, can you imagine that? Like, I found this stack of papers in my mom's house that I wrote for me. And I invite you all to read it, because I invite the parents to understand how to hack your own pain. How to hack your own pain. You must understand how to hack your own pain so that your children can see you and learn through you. So that your children can see you and learn through you, okay? Okay, can I get an amen on that? All right. All right. All right. So I didn't know what I wanted to say today, but that's the main thing. I just want you to understand that you need to learn how to shed your own pain because anything can happen. Anything can happen. You might be like me and hit with a stroke and have to deal with it. And I'm dealing with it the best I can. I share. I share. I share.
Okay. So yeah, that took me back to the moment, and I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't know what I was saying. I had all these speeches. My mom printed out speech points for me right before. She sent me this whole speech point. I had it in my pocket, and I didn't reach for it. I was like, oh no, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I saying? What am I saying? And so it was good to know that in my moment of doubt, I reached for that book. And the message that parents, you've got to have your things together. You've got to get yourself together so that you can express that. So you can express that to your children, so that your children can see you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to again tell everyone about the book. I mean, I don't know if you have it yet, but tell everyone about the book because it was helpful to me. And one of the things that what was helpful was talking about smiling. Smiling was a big part of the book, and smiling was just using a pen sometimes to hold your mouth open in the smile. Okay, so I had to talk about that for a minute.
Oh no, and I think that smile is really important because, as you know, anybody who's had any kind of neurological head stroke, any kind of trauma, like even getting those emotions to be back in sync, it what is sort of happening. And I remember looking at a picture. I was sitting with my brother, and I looked at the picture. I was like, oh my gosh, like who is that person? It was me. And I was sitting with my twin brother, and I didn't recognize me because like I could see in my eyes there was like this intense sadness. And it was, as your brain, as it continues to reorient itself to full living, as you know, I mean, here is the sad part of the story. It goes through these really like dark periods, and you really, 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 really have to fight to get from that moment. And I remember looking at that picture with my brother and I thinking like, oh my gosh, Janet, you gotta keep fighting. You can't, you gotta keep fighting. And so like I appreciate, life hacks. As a librarian, we always need like lists or something to do. And the beautiful part is that I wasn't smiling that day, but I started to look at the pictures like when I was smiling, the people I was smiling with. And even though still I was not cognitively and emotionally where I could connect that happiness to where I was, it allowed me, by connecting to something that I couldn't really like feel fully again yet, it started to make me want to experience that more. And so I think an amazing thing about your book is that like these are life hacks. I mean, it's not hacks for us after we've had a stroke. It's not hacks for us after we've had a job. When we practice what we practice ongoing for a little while, sometimes it may feel like, oh, will I ever get this? But it always comes back. And so your hacks are things that we need to practice. We need to practice every day. So, and then we have to practice in the rain and the sunshine and the rainbows and all those things as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for that. And so I wanted to just comment on something. Your speaking voice is amazing. It's amazing. And I still struggle with mine. And I have to ask you, like, how do you deal with that? Well, what was your process? How long did it take you to recover your voice?
So thank you. I appreciate that question. We talked about, part of this whole stroke thing is that it's a lot of work that has to happen behind the scenes. I'm still working to this day. We have our, as I call it, our frontline support people, you know, our loved ones, our friends, our inner circle who give us like primary support. But I will tell you that it is important for us to have secondary and tertiary support. That secondary support is still for me is reading. Like every word I read still opens up another side of my brain. Secondly, I have to have people around me. Well, some you can't not deal with them, but like negativity has also been a hindrance to my recovery. So like I have basically positivity coaches. They don't even know it, but it's just some people you talk to, oh, they're positive. And my brain during still in this period loves positivity. So I'm able to mimic the actions of my positivity coaches. They don't even know it, but I mimic them. And then also, it's this tertiary, these things that continue to help us be physically, emotionally, and socially whole. We'll talk about this because this is where, like, the other side of recovery and the cost of recovery, so that you talk with, some people, they have them life coaches, but I have a communication coach where we are always communicating, and it is important in our communication. Now they know that they're a communication coach, but that we have to speak my words that they are speaking. We also check to see if during my speech, if there is any stuttering, if there is any delay in thought to transmission of that. So coaches, still therapists, working with therapists to make sure that the post traumatic piece of it, that it does not sort of take over. And so that on those moments when I'm called to be great, that little voice that says, well, what if you can't do a sentence, or what if you can't remember the words? So it's like those kinds of things. And then also some of the physical therapy that I still undertake. All the things I mentioned are not covered by insurance. And so you also have to have like a fourth level to say, okay, I want to thrive. I want to flourish. How am I going to be able to do this? And it really becomes this it's an act of tenacity. It's an act of like, listen, I've got to do this. And also it's an act of opportunity, because the brain, when it has trauma, it has the opportunity to come back even better than it was before. So I'm thankful to God that there are times that I say, oh, wow, it's only sort of in a higher power that can orchestrate all the team of people, even the resources, when it's like, oh, how is this going to work? They all come together. So, yes.
Yeah, wow. You touched on so many things I wanted to talk about. So many things, but I want to answer a question from Fee King. She's asking you, where was it? When was how long was your recovery? How long was your recovery? So how long? So you said you're still taking classes.
April. So I think it's been. So it was April 4th, 2021. So
Wow.
that's over 2 years. Recovery is still ongoing today. So again, because the brain controls so many things, cognition, creativity, emotion, connection, the ability to relegate feelings of like, love, dislike. It's just really important to continue. I will also say that pursuing, like, I teach at Fisk, and so interacting with students, oh my God.
Another thing. Sorry, just another thing. It's like, what? You do what? All right, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, students. And this was the first full week of 3 classes. And so you find yourself engaged, and then, they ask something, and then you like remember it. And like, it's not all the way in the back of your mind, but again, community, I keep saying, I am daily in recovery because of community, and they expand me, they stretch me, they inspire me, and it's that sort of stuff. I hope I answer your question, but I had intensive recovery. It was about 9 months, and
Yeah.
about 9 months, it was really, 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 really difficult. It was difficult. It was dark. It was heavy. It was weighty. I felt like no one understood. I also, one of the therapists had said that I would never like speak again, that I would only be a portion of who I am, and you never, ever, ever should tell Shirley Walsh's, Jesse Walsh's, Lily Spencer's granddaughter, that was my mom and dad, I mentioned her. You never tell their descendants or any of them and let my ancestors hear them say that I will not be something. And you'll see that they push me and give me everything to make it work.
Right. I felt a little spark. You're like, you're not gonna tell me. You're not gonna tell me.
Wish you
Right,
would tell me, yeah.
wish you would. I appreciate that. And now let me get this right now, because it seems like maybe I'm on the wrong path. Like maybe I need some more coaching, because I did the coaching for a while, then I let it go. But maybe I need to do some more coaching to facilitate my voice more. Is that right?
Yeah, so I will tell you the blessing and the burden. Say cool. The blessing is that you're gifted, you're smart, you have all these things at your fingertips. You have a wonderful support team. That is the blessing. The burden is because you have that. It is those of us who have that are less likely to seek additional things. But I would recommend, even if it's nothing more than analysis, to say, hey, how do you think I'm doing? And, our friends are going to say, oh, you're doing great, great, great. But then you need a coach to be like, well, Janet, I was talking to you and you really didn't say the fourth point to the points that you were making. And I was like, well, I was on the phone texting while I was talking to you. That's why. But anyway, so I do think, if nothing more than additional like check-ins to see, and then a coach may be able to recommend what. And I do recommend that it's always somebody that's out of your league. Like if you are like 7 feet tall and smart, find you somebody who's like 9 feet tall and smart.
That's really tall and really big, robust.
Really smart. Yeah, more. Just this. Okay. You have to find somebody more, because it is that more that gives us something to reach to. Because yes, Lowe's looks into, oh, we're so perfect. No, but those mores will be like, come on, T, maybe you need to come with it some more. So yes.
Yeah, that's a fair point, because part of why I let that speech therapist go was because I felt like I wasn't getting much there, and so I thought I'd finished it all. But maybe I just needed to find the right person to really challenge me. So I thank you for that. I'm gonna look into that and see what I can find for me besides this show.
Right.
So, well, speaking of the show is about money. I don't know if you knew, but the show is about money. So let's talk about money, because this show came up. Sidebar, folks. This show came up spontaneously. Janet called to check on me, and something she said really, really galvanized me. She said that what she talked about earlier in this conversation is that let me make it general. We have to have money to take care of things that no one knew. No one knew that these things were coming, right? And so how do you deal with all these new things that you're dealing with, and let that be the priority? Like, never mind everything else. Sorry, let that be the priority, bigger than anything else you're dealing with, and get that taken care of. So I'm sorry, I got hype. I got hype asking that question, but help me out.
So it's an exercise in creativity. I mean, you just would not, again, you could, go to your friends and be like, hey, I need $5,000. I need $10,000. I need $20,000. I mean, that's one part of it. But then you also start to see that that's not a sustainable model, that you can always go and ask for that amount of money. And so, it's both you and I are entrepreneurs. There's also business ideas, which this weekend I'm actually a facility. We're making tea carts this weekend. So we have blueprints. Yeah, we'll see how like all of that. But I'm saying, so you always have to be creative, but you also have to be humble. There have been periods, even as last month, I've been back and forth between Memphis, ensuring that my mother's health opportunities, that they all expand the way they should, but that money and thinking about resources and being able to do what really matters the most. So I picked up the phone, and many people will see this. I email them, hey, I'm a consultant. What work do you have for me to do? Hey, I'm a gap strategist. What do you have for me to do? Hey, I'm a library consultant. Are there any gaps in the library you need to do? Hey, does your church need a virtual attendant or secretary? So like I did all of those kinds of things. So you have to be sort of creative, but in that creativity, you also know it takes a lot of time. So you start to look for things that will give you residual income, things that'll keep going when you have to be the other people that you are.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So you sent out asks of all these people and
Oh, I
asked
did,
them.
yeah. And I've just sent some as early as last week. I sent some because I have a business idea that I really need some funding for it. So I sent it to I have a few 10 people who normally sort of support this. I say, hey, this is what I need to do. I don't have it in the budget, this creativity budget, to do this for my tea company. Gave them, what it was. So I did that. But also some of my professional is I've been a librarian for over 2 decades. I'm like, hey, this is what, but also even in terms of my teaching, letting people know, like, hey, this fall, I don't really have it outlined as closely as I would like this fall. Let me know if anything comes up, and it also is an ability to tap into all of your gifts. Now, I could be anybody from the housekeeper to the CEO to the executive director. And part of also this recovery process has been continuing to work in different products that also continue to increase, enhance, and expand my ability. So that has also been a really wonderful part of my recovery.
Okay, real quick. How long did it take you before you start reaching out? Like, I mean, how soon after your incident were you able to reach out to people?
So I will tell you that I started reaching out because again, people, it's not that I'm connected to my work, but I knew that I couldn't sit in my mother's, in my bedroom in my mother's house forever. I knew I could.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Thank God for mothers and bedrooms.
Thank God.
My brothers, my sister-in-laws, they were wonderful to me. But I also felt that it was putting me at a deficit because I was enjoying it.
Mhm.
I could sit in the bed and I could just keep sitting there because I didn't have anything to do. So really about at 4 months, someone reached out to me. I was not looking for anything. Somebody reached out to me at 4 months. And at 4 months, I was working with a software company. 4 months from like at the fourth month, not full time, just consulting. And I mean, the first few days I was like, oh my gosh, this brain is hurting because I was expanding. But then, like, it started to get easier, and that was a way that
Mhm.
sort of eased me back into it.
Mhm.
So, 4 months, I did take that assignment at 4 months, but I really wasn't fully up to like speed until like 9 or 10 months where I could operate for more than 4 hours without an intense headache. Because we don't talk about post-stroke headaches, which will make you be in the bed, could potentially be in the bed 12 to 14 hours a day.
Okay. Okay. It sounds like another call out to me is that I need to be accepting jobs. I need to be reaching out for jobs. I need to be seeking that because they might force me to grow.
Absolutely.
And in that forcing, it might be uncomfortable. But I can feel the discomfort, but pushing past the discomfort will help me to something else, to something bigger.
And most people, when like they may have heard they've had a stroke, but they don't know. And
Yeah.
so sometimes I think part of the people that I worked with that didn't know, it helped me to act more and operate more like I hadn't had one than I did, if that makes sense. Because the eye of pity sends a broadcast message to say, oh, you poor Janet, you have a deficit. And so if someone's coming up to me with that deficit, I am hearing that broadcast message. I am receiving it. And then maybe my deficit starts to become a little bit more pronounced. So those have just been some ways that I have sort of hacked the recovery as well.
Okay. We're gonna have to have you back on. We're gonna have to have you back on, my God, because the time just went like that. The time just went like that. We're over time already. So just tell people how they can support you, the things that you're doing.
Okay, so you can support me easily. The easiest way is to just write me a check today for $10,000. I can ensure that I'll use that $10,000 for this novel concept that we're working on, T-Cards at the Music City Center. We'll make sure that you get some residual things like that. You can catch me on Facebook as T Maven. On Instagram, I think it's my T Maven, and my company is ttandscompany.com. LinkedIn is Dr. Janet Walsh, and yes.
All right. You heard it here first. You heard it from Janet Walsh here first. All right. Thanks so much for watching us with us today, and we'll see you later. All right.
Thank you. Bye.